Last summer, I sold my car to Carvana. I figured in retirement, I didn't need it for a commute, nor did I need it 100%. How's it working out for me? Let's get into it. Back then, I looked at the quantitative and qualitative aspects of not owning a vehicle and posited that I would actually be more beneficial by not having a car. When trying to estimate the costs, I looked at all sorts of information, including depreciation tables, expected increases in auto insurance, and fuel costs. What I found was exactly what you'd expect. Quantitatively, you try and say it. That part of the decision was right on the money. From a qualitative perspective, let's walk through that because that's a little bit more subjective. Is this un-American? I'm giving up a 100% access to a personal automobile that I can take wherever I want to go in my beautiful climate-controlled compartment, whether it's raining or snowing. I can turn on the AC in the summer, I can turn on the heat in the winter, and I'm giving all of that up for what? So I started with the original car sale to Carvana and I invested it into 3 Vanguard funds that were focused on sustainable companies. ESGV, VCEB, VSGX. I did not invest in EIEIO because that's specifically for a farming and agriculture. Your next question is, so Paul, how did this all work out? I've got an answer for you. As of January 2026, the overall portfolio has earned 16.5% on the investment. And that's subtracting out all of the contributions I made. So that's just pure profit that I made investing into it. But to be honest, 2025 has been a very good year for equities, so you probably could have just thrown a dart against the wall and still made money in equities. Looking at just the quantitative aspects, you can say that it was definitely the right decision. But a lot of us still need to get to places. We need to get to work, grocery shop, clothes shopping. So how are we going to deal with the personal transportation aspect? So the first one, you can just walk everywhere. So unless you have a physical disability that prevents it, it's the first option. Walking everywhere, however, is the slowest option and requires the most amount of time to get from point A to point B. And a lot of times there's limited pedestrian infrastructure or no pedestrian infrastructure whatsoever. So believe me, the US suburbs are built all around the personal automobile and not pedestrians. By the way, there are some really good channels about urbanism and pedestrian infrastructure. One that I recommend is Ray Delahanty's City Nerd. Second up is using public transportation. The advantage with this one is it covers more distance than walking and it may be a viable replacement. Where I live, it's $250 for a one-way trip. So if you figure you go to work 20 days a month, that's a round trip, $5 a day or $100 for a month. $100 for a month, that could be less than you're paying just in gas alone and is way less than including auto insurance and maintenance. And if you've got a car loan, it's less than all of that combined. The downside to this, well, there may be no viable options or routes for you to catch public transport. The transportation network also dictates where you're going to be able to go, and you're fixed on their schedule, not your own schedule. And you also have to share it with other riders. Best excuse for noise-canceling headphones ever. Even if you have shopping and social activities 3 times a week on top of that 5 times a week commute, that only adds another $60 to the monthly total. Still way less than the ongoing costs of maintenance, insurance, fuel, and depreciation of a personal automobile. Now let's get to bicycling. Obviously, this is my first choice option since I love cycling, but it makes so much sense to me. You have a much greater range than walking. You're not limited by anyone else's schedule. You can travel when you want. The costs to maintain a bike are far less than an automobile, and depending upon the bike you ride, you can carry quite a lot of bit with you. You can go for groceries, you can go for shopping, you can go for cat food, wine bottles. Yep. Wine bottles. I've done all of that. Combine that with a bike trailer and you can start carrying dozens of pounds. And this is all with a non-e-bike. You get an e-bike and you can increase your speed and your load carrying capacity. What are the downsides with cycling? Similar to walking, you don't have a climate controlled cabin for your transport. You're at the mercy of temperature and weather. You also have to plan your trips because it'll take more time than an automobile, and there might not be great infrastructure for you to get to your destination. Similar to lack of pedestrian infrastructure, there could be lack of cycling infrastructure. Truth be told, I've arrived at the dentist slightly sweaty from riding there. Not completely drenched, but definitely not completely dry. Underarm deodorant is definitely your friend. And if you're commuting, a gym nearby to shower when you arrive at work to change clothes is almost a must. There may be others, but I'm going to finish this up with location. So if the suburbs are built around the personal automobile, then is this really the best place to try and experiment to not have a car? Think about it. Some of the most walkable places you can live car-free are also the most expensive. But with the money you're not spending on the automobile, could you then use that to live in a walkable, cyclable neighborhood? It's an interesting thought. If you're thinking about doing this, there's a website out there called walkscore.com. You can find neighborhoods that enable you to do most errands without a car. Look at the difference between, for example, Milton, Georgia, with a walk score of 0. Literally, all errands require a car there. You compare that to Dunwoody, which has a walk score of 59, where you can do some errands just simply by walking. So what has my experience been like? Well, both my wife and I are retired, so I don't need a vehicle 100%. And I stress the word need. There are times when I would like one. For example, when I'm going out to the store and it's raining out, I don't want to ride my bike and put on all my rain gear. It's just not convenient for me. But I'm retired, so can I delay that trip to the next day when it's not raining? Most of the time I can. There are some activities, though, that I would like a vehicle. If I want to go out into the mountains for a couple-day adventure and go overnight, I have to take the vehicle for several days when she would want to use it at that particular time. I might be able to sneak out for an overnight, leaving sometime in the afternoon and then returning sometime before lunch the next day, or do like a sub 24 hour. But that requires a lot of planning, and she's going to be without a vehicle at that point. Ho, ho, ho! One of the more difficult times that I had was actually going Christmas shopping. Yeah, I could have bought everything online, but there are some things that I just want to buy in person because I just kind of want to touch and feel them. So scheduling the vehicle for those particular times was a little bit more difficult than I originally planned, and I didn't even see that one coming. Overall, though, I think it's worked out for me. In the future, I may graduate to another vehicle. But at least at this point, I'm still healthy enough that I can continue to ride and share a vehicle with my wife. One final question you might have is, with all this money that you're earning, what are you going to do with it? One of the things that I'm thinking about is, since the money has just come to me kind of freely, and I don't need the vehicle, that I'm going to donate it to an organization that really needs it. Probably a local food bank. Probably take half of the interest that I've earned after about a year so that I don't get hit with short-term capital gains. And then I can give half of that money at least to a local food bank so people don't go food insecure. What am I going to do with the other half of it? There's something that I'm toying with in the back of my mind, and that is a scooter. Not the ones that you see zipping around the cities, but the kind that I could use to ride across the country. I'm looking at a Honda ADV 160. That scooter has got about 30 liters of under-seat storage, which is about a good-sized day pack's worth of storage. I could at least fit a tent and a sleeping kit and possibly a kitchen set inside there. And then you could put another 20 liters of storage, 25 liters of storage on a trunk in the back, and that gives you about a 50-liter carrying capacity, which is definitely a multi-day adventure that you could take from one end of the country to another. And yeah, the thing is not designed to do 120 miles an hour on the freeways, but I wouldn't want to take it on the freeways anyway. One of the ones that I'm thinking about doing is the Blue Ridge Parkway and taking that all the way up to see family in Connecticut. That's all I have for this one. Stay tuned for the 2026 ride preview of the Jimmy Buffett Highway, and I will catch you on the road this year.